Thank you very much. That's so nice. Yeah, good. It always makes me laugh. I'm like, wow, where did they get that bio from? And damn, I wish my kids were here. So that makes me sound like a rock star, and I'm really just like everyone else, right? So there's a couple of things that I wanted just to disclose to you before we get started. And that's one of the things that was already said, is that I am a lover of wine and coffee. So that should set everybody at ease straight away, right? It's like, wait a minute, a nutritionist likes coffee and wine? And the other thing that you should know about me is that I really am like the rest of us, right? I am a former teacher. I think that's really, really important for you guys to know. So a former teacher, and then I was really lucky 27 years ago to be working in the area of computers in schools, which was such a novelty, that Microsoft and IBM asked me to come over here, and I met the man that I'm still married to and 3 children, and that's how I'm here. But I think what's important for you guys to know is that I really get your space. I was a teacher. And I am now a health professional, right? I understand. I'm at the coalface with people who need us to be healthy so that we can give the butterfly effect to them. So over the last 15 years, I always think, damn, I wish I was always a nutritionist. And then I think about it and I think, no, it really gives me the real empathy for all of you sitting here going, wait a minute, I need something else in my toolkit, not only for myself, but for these people that I'm guiding. And if I could just give them one more thing in their health toolkit. So as we talked about earlier, I am a mother of 3 teenagers, a really dumb dog, hundreds loads of laundry, messy house, and just to prove to you how mad I actually am, I just want to share an experience with you. So a couple of years ago, I was speaking at Happiness and Its Causes, the same event that Dan was speaking at. And about 9 months before the conference, Beth, the conference coordinator, had phoned me. And she said, Michele, she said, we've been watching you speak, and we want you to come and speak on vitality, energy, and serotonin. And I went, Beth, did you say serotonin? I said, wait a minute, do you have any idea, like this is my passion about happy hormones and about mental health and about anxiety and depression? She goes, oh yes, we know, we've had a few people watching you. You're a little bit mad, but yes. And she said, we've decided that it will be a great space for you to be talking about the link between food and mood, right? So I've been researching this area forever. So I was beside myself. Not only am I going to speak about what I'm passionate about, what I know to be true, what I see to be true, but I'm going to be sitting amongst the Dalai Lama, I'm going to sit amongst the monks. I'm so excited about this talk. So that morning I get up 6 o'clock in the morning, get myself to Luna Park, sitting amongst the monks, get up and do my thing, and I was on a timed presentation. But I am beside myself to be able to talk about serotonin, dopamine, and the big links between food and gut health, etc. I sit back down, and someone comes over to me from the member of the meeting and goes, Michele, are you all right? And I go, yeah, why? I go, well, up there on the big screen, 5,000 people, your face is like peeling. And I'm like, oh no, I've been so excited. Maybe I was sweating. And I'm so excited about this. She goes, well, your excitement came through. She said, but Michele, your face is peeling. And I went, oh my God, I left my facial mask on. I was that excited about speaking at Luna Park. I had got up and it was like crazy. You can't make this stuff up. But so you'll see, I mean, really, it's insane. So you'll see today, in the beginning, we'll talk about lots of things around food, but we will link back in after the break. We'll link in specifically about mental health. We'll thread it all the way through. But after the break, we'll talk specifically about trials and controlled studies and mental health, because that will be the source of my upcoming TED Talk, which will be mental health hijackers. They could be lurking in your food, a huge area that we should all be aware of. Okay, so let's get started. So much to talk about. I love doing a presentation like this because it's a small group, and I love also the fact that we get to get interactive as well. So let's get started. So there's a lot of, white witchcraft in the area of nutrition. What's the truth and what's not the truth? And it's a long conversation, but let's take today's conversation into 3 sections. Let's start with what is going on in your world, as well as the students' world that you're looking at. Then let's talk about nutritional truths. So I am an author of Beating Sugar Addictions for Dummies, this book, and a couple of other books. And when Wiley Publishing came to me and asked me to write that book, I said, why are you asking me? Why aren't you asking Sarah Wilson or David Gillespie? And they said, oh, Michele, we did, but you're the only qualified nutritionist that comes from a research evidence base. And I think that's really important for you guys to know about. Whilst we run very busy clinical practices where we see patients every day at the coalface, everything I talk about today is evidence-based. There's research for everything. It's important. And then we're going to finish up today with how to get it right in your world so that you're able to give the butterfly effect to everyone else you know and share. Okay, so what's going on in your world? Well, this is what's going on in your world. We've got 1 out of 4 people suffering from being overweight, obese, or diabetes type 2. Or a combination of the two called diobesity, right? So maybe not in this demographic here are we overly concerned about it, but we should be concerned about this because this is what's even more important to me than this, is the links from here to here. We've got 1 out of 8 women here in Australia being diagnosed with breast cancer. There isn't a person in this audience that wouldn't be able to name at least 2 people that they know with breast cancer. However, if you were to ask your grandparent at your age if they knew somebody with breast cancer, they go, Now, those people who know people with breast cancer, anybody? Raise your hand. People? Okay, so when someone's diagnosed with breast cancer, they're immediately looked at for a genetic gene, or they're looked at for estrogen dominant breast cancer, right? The word estrogen dominant is going to come up later on. Let's talk about the gene in breast cancer. I'm Cure for Cancer's nutritional ambassador. Only 6% of cancer is genetic in breast cancer. Where is the other 94% coming from? What is going on in our world that we need to start to be looking outside the box? Okay? We've got 1 out of 6 men here in Australia being diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, this is the kind of prostate cancer, 10 years ago, if you were talking about prostate cancer, you go, oh, Uncle Johnny, he's 86 years old, he's going to be diagnosed, he has prostate cancer, and the doctor said it's not going to cause him any harm, he's going to die with prostate cancer. We've all heard that, right? This is not the kind of prostate cancer I'm talking about now. This 2017, this kind of prostate cancer is happening to young men. 1 out of 6 in Australia, almost in epidemic numbers. And that's not the kind of prostate cancer they're going to die with. That's the kind of prostate cancer they're going to die from. Again, what is going on that wasn't happening when our parents or our grandparents were younger? What's different? Genetics isn't changing that much, but definitely food and lifestyle is. Okay, brain fog. Now, when I say brain fog, people immediately start to laugh or smile and they go, oh, she knows me. I'm in brain fog right now. Oh, is she looking at me? Right? I get it. We're all going in and out of brain fog. I get to work with the top CEOs in Australia and 13-year-olds, right? We all go in and out of brain fog depending on how we've slept, what we've eaten, etc., etc. So we laugh at brain fog, but we don't laugh at this. We've got 1 out of 10 people in Australia suffering from some kind of cognitive or neurological issue. Let's start with brain fog. Somewhat laugh on that. Let's walk down the cognitive neurological spectrum. ADD, ADHD, autism, Asperger's, Parkinson's, dementia, early onset Alzheimer's that people are getting now in their 50s. What is going on in this spectrum? All of you will know people in this space. That is alarming when we're seeing people in their late 40s, early 50s being diagnosed with early onset dementia. It is really, really frightening. Now let's just go back to ADHD, which is probably relevant, particularly for many of you, and seeing people with ADHD. People are clinically diagnosed with ADHD. For sure, without a doubt. We've got several of those patients. And I am not against modern medication whatsoever. But we've got the highest rate of prescription drugs in the world for ADHD here in Australia. Why aren't we looking more at what's going on beneath the surface rather than just getting medication? I am not against medication at all. I work with oncologists, gastroenterologists, psychologists, psychiatrists every single day. Love working with the medical profession. But have we looked at what's going on beneath the surface for many of these people? Then we've got this, of course. Well, you know, as you heard Rachel say today, these statistics are just going crazy. We've got 1 out of 6 people, this is only last year, 18 months ago that I put this slide up, 1 out of 6 people here in Australia being diagnosed with anxiety, depression, or some type of mood disorder. But of course now these days, it's 1 out of 4. And particularly with young women. Yes, young men too, but you would see the statistics a little bit higher with young women, particularly between the ages of 16 to 24. Again, what is going on here? These are statistics that we know about, and that's alarming, 1 out of 4. What about all the other people that are suffering in silence? We know that things like anxiety and depression lead to things like cutting, self-harm, alcoholism. We know that. You all know that. I don't need to be telling you that. What is going on that wasn't happening when we were younger to this generation? Or if our grandparents start to hear these alarming rates, they're like, what the heck is going on? Okay. Then we've got this, a whole entire world of tired but wired people. So when I say this, a few people start to laugh immediately and they think, oh no, she knows me so well. Of course, because I used to be you, and I used to teach people like you. The tired but wired person who's sitting there in the chair or working all day long thinking, oh, I've got iron deficiency. Oh, I've got glandular fever. Oh, my husband's right. I must be going into menopause and I'm only 28. No, maybe none of those things. Maybe you're getting into bed and you're not having a proper night's sleep. So we know that tired but wired people can be cranky people. We know that. We know that tired but wired people aren't absorbing education or material the way that they should be. We know that their neurotransmitters aren't refiring. But did you know this? The lack of sleep can change your blood glucose and your blood insulin severely. So Harvard University does a medical study, right? So I try to always point out to things to you that are a little bit beyond of what you already know. Harvard University does a medical study on 18-year-olds, 85 18-year-olds. Their blood pathology is fantastic. Their blood glucose, their fasting insulin, fantastic. They're great specimens. They eat well, they exercise well. They change nothing with this group of study except their sleep. They go from 8 hours sleep to 6 hours sleep. And they keep them around 6 hours, 6 hours 15, 5 hours, 5.5 hours. They keep their sleep under the 7-hour mark for, I think it's 6 weeks. They redo the blood pathology. Nothing else has changed. But their blood pathology looks metabolically like they're a 65-year-old. Their insulin and their blood glucose is completely off. Does that mean that we can get blood sugar dysregulation that affects our brain processes just from lack of sleep? Absolutely. So how come people are tired but wired? There's lots of reasons. There could be the fact that people aren't eating enough protein in their diet. So protein breaks down to an amino acid, one of them being tryptophan. Tryptophan is the precursor to melatonin. Melatonin is our sleep hormone. So one of the first things that we do as nutritionists for people that are having poor sleep is we make sure that they are eating protein, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and perhaps a protein snack before bed. Of course, there's things that we can do with vitamins, melatonin, magnesium, glycinates, and there's all those things that I could talk about forever. But the first protocol will always be how much protein is in your diet. So protein. But also, tired but wired can be from the person that is consuming an abundant amount of hidden sugar and not realizing they're having an abundant amount of hidden sugar in healthy foods. And we're going to talk a lot about that. Okay, so I speak in a school probably once a week around Australia or internationally. And next week I get to go to Hong Kong for the Positive Schools Conference in Asia, which is 10 countries. So I feel so happy, full of gratitude that I'm able to be speaking in this space as a former educator. But we did a survey last year of 179 schools, high schools, and we asked the kids. We said to the kids, if you were to have a nutritionist come back to your school, right, what were the things that you would want to be reinforced? What are you looking for in your own wellness toolkit? And these things may or may not surprise you, but this is what they said, 179 schools, boys and girls. So they said, this won't surprise you. There's a vanity aspect of it. They go, how do we get good hair? Okay, fair enough. It doesn't matter whether you're 13, 17, or 50. We're all looking for good hair. Okay, the next response was they were looking for good skin. How do we get good skin? Okay, no surprise, vanity aspect of it. Then they talked about, I thought this was interesting. They talked about having enough energy to exercise. And I thought that's interesting, that they would have depleted energy or realize that they don't have enough energy to exercise, some of them. Interesting comment. Then the next comment was, of course, to do well at school, to do well in assessments, to do well academically. Awesome, that was no surprise to me. Fantastic. This was a surprise. 87% of the respondents said this, we just want to be happy. I was like, that's extraordinary for teenagers to be saying and writing that down. Like, that gives me the chills. That makes the New Yorkers start to come at me. That's crazy that these kids are craving just to be happy and to feel good about themselves. Amazing, right? Okay, so that's what's going on in your world. Now let's get to some nutritional truths. Food, the simple act of eating food 3 times a day, 5 times a day, can underpin all of these things. It can underpin your hair and your teeth. And if you're talking to teenagers, you start with vanity. You talk about their hair and their teeth. If you're talking to boys, you talk about their hormones. You say the word testosterone and every boy is locked on, right? So the thing is, you start appealing to all their vanity. But we know food affects sleep, skin, heart, thyroid, physical shape of your body, brain and memory, mood and self-esteem. And we're going to go into depth about all of them. I just want to go back very quickly to thyroid, because I'm going to bounce from talking about your own health to children's health. But you're here, you're captive, and I want to tell you this. Thyroid, 1 out of 4 women in Australia, adult women, have a subclinical thyroid condition. These women feel like they're treading water. They feel like they're swimming through a murky swamp every single day. They feel like their energy levels are about here. They feel like they're in brain fog. They could be gaining weight. Their digestion could be slowing. They feel like they're in constant brain fog. They go to the doctor and they say to the doctor, there's something wrong. The doctor goes, I think you have anxiety or depression. Here's some medication. Again, I'm not against that if it's true depression. Absolutely. Ladies, you must share with everyone you know that thyroid condition and subthyroid condition can often appear as anxiety and depression, and it is worth being checked. 1 out of 4 women in Australia. And men, you all know ladies, so share this with people. Men get subclinical thyroid conditions as well, but not nearly as much as women. And again, at the alarming rates at what's going on in Australia, it's extraordinary. So you can get hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism. You can get Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition, and you can get Graves' disease, which is autoimmune thyroid. Just a little red flag that I'm putting out there to you. Okay, so, yes?
Is that a blood test?
It's a blood test, yes, it's a blood test. So, okay, so here's the thing. Here is the nutritional truth, the single nutritional truth. Have any of you done the lemon detox diet? Have any of you done the all fat, no carb diet, only drink water diet, eat hot dogs every other day diet? How about the Miami Beach diet? Okay, I'm being facetious, but you know what I'm getting at. There's 1,000 diets out there, right? Only have water but have fruit diets. It's insane. I'm here to tell you that I've researched most of them. I've done most of them myself. And I'm here to tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, from my researched experience, is that nothing will work like this. Just eat real, whole food as much as possible and as often as possible. Things that are not packaged and processed. Now, I live in the real world with you. I've got a dumb dog, 3 kids, loads of laundry. I'm occasionally not eating real food. I'm occasionally going to Guzman and Gomez or Thrive or wherever, or picking up things, right? Muesli bars and stuff like that. But when I am, I'm very nutritionally aware. When I'm not, I'm trying to think about how do I eat in a combination of this. Where's my fat? Where's my protein? And where's my complex carb? This is a key message for today. Okay, so if a nutritionist was to tell you to eat slow, seasonal, local, organic when possible, whole foods, slow, S-L-O-W, and eating unpackaged and unprocessed, and to be eating in a combination of these 3 macronutrients, you'd remember for 5 minutes. Maybe you'll remember to 5 o'clock today. But if I tell you why, and you go, well, that so makes sense now. I get it. I'm always going to be the nutritionist that tells the why. So, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I want you to be thinking about where's your protein, where's your fat, where's your carb. And here's why. Let's start with fat. Right? Fat used to be like the most feared word in the English language, right? People go, fat, did she say fat? Did she tell me to eat fat? Is she calling me fat? Does my butt look fat? Right? Like fat, people would go crazy about fat. Now we know that that has been turned on its head. So last year, 2 years ago, I was able to speak with the one of the world's leading cardiologists, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Stephen Sinatra. So Stephen Sinatra is a man in his late 70s, early 80s, and he was one of the researchers in the whole fat scare 20 years ago, when all of a sudden people started to go, no fat, I can't have fat, fat's gonna give me a heart attack, fat, right? So he got up last year in front of an audience of 5,000 professionals in New York City and lots of journalists, and boy, did he eat humble pie. It was awesome. He was so amazing. He got up and he said, I was one of the lead researchers on this whole fat scare. And when everybody started to strip fat out of food and food became tasteless, the manufacturers went and dumped a whole bunch of sugar in. And then 18 months later, people started getting pre-diabetes, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and all. He said, I was one of these people who started all this talk. He said, here's my new book. Puts up his book, and it's called The Cholesterol Myth. He said, fat isn't going to make you fat. Fat isn't going to lead to half the conditions that we thought they were going to. He said, sugar is, but fat's not. So here's what we know to be true around fat now. We know that fat is incredibly important for our brain. So remember when we were talking about this cognitive spectrum of brain fog, ADD, Asperger's, autism, Parkinson's, dementia. One of the first things a good neurologist will do now, before they even give anybody an MRI or do any testing, is they will immediately put them on high doses of fish oil. Because fish oil is all about fat for the brain. Our brains are made up of 65 to 75% fat. Without good quality fats, we do not have the cognitive development that we need. Our kids are being given an abundance of carbohydrates, fast-burning twigs, which I call, right? They're not getting an abundance of fats, nor are many of us getting an abundance of fat. So really, really, really important for the brain. But if you're appealing to a teenager, you talk about, oh, it makes your skin look fantastic, because of course it does. It's very, very good at balancing hormones. So we want that great level of fats in our diets with avocados, olive oils, seeds and nuts, and all those kinds of things. So the other thing about fat, which you may not be aware of, is fat turns off sugar cravings. So think about this, just intuitively. You've got a whole avocado sitting in front of you. You can eat a whole avocado, I do. But it's much easier to eat 3 or 4 Tim Tams, sugary, right? Carbohydrate, versus avocado, which is kind of rich and filling and fatty, right? Amazing for the brain, amazing for the skin, right? These Tim Tams, that's just poison in terms of blood sugar and everything else. This fat. So not only is that fat great for our brain and for our hormones, and great for our skin and turning off sugar craving. So think about that. Again, intuitively, if you eat an avocado, do you think you're going to be craving sugar afterwards? Most people are kind of like, wow, I feel kind of satisfied. I feel kind of satiated. Just think about that intuitively. Easy to eat Tim Tams, not so easy to eat that kind of, good quality fats. So, so bring on the fats and bring on good quality fats. Who in here likes avocado? Great. Maybe most people do. But it's not just avocado that could be in our daily lives. It could be olive oil. And we're going to do a day in your life at the end, right? Okay, so fat should be at every single meal. The other thing about fat that you may not know about is when we have fat, things like not skim yogurt, not skim milk, not skim cheese. Skim should be completely off, and so should low fat, right? When we're eating foods with fat in it, it creates this hormone called leptin. Leptin sends a signal to the brain. It says, I'm satiated. Turn this off. You know these people that are constantly eating all the time? Like they're constantly eating, nothing ever satisfies them. They're not eating enough fats or enough good quality proteins. They're not creating this signal called leptin. Leptin will be something that you will see a lot in the health and well-being space over the next 12 to 18 months. Like insulin resistance was very popular and talked about, leptin resistance is going to be very popular and talked about. Okay, let's move on to protein. So protein, great for immunity, hair, skin, nails, stops hunger, balances blood sugar. Okay, protein. So I'm talking about fish, I'm talking about chicken, I'm talking about red meat, I'm talking about seeds and nuts, right? Again, we're going to do a day in the life of you as we get to the end. But protein, here's the thing. To balance somebody's blood sugar from keeping their blood sugar bouncing around all day long, if we pepper breakfast, lunch, and dinner with protein, and a morning tea and an afternoon tea with protein, we see a completely different type of brain function. We see people from who go like this all day long to all of a sudden go like this, right? Really, really nicely. So again, when we're talking to kids, we go, oh, protein, this is amazing for your hair, and oh, your nails will be long, and oh, gee, lean muscle mass is all about protein, right? You can get them engaged like that. But we know on a much deeper level, it's doing lots of other things. When we see children or people that are getting sick constantly, colds, flus, viruses, glandular fever, Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegaloviruses, viruses, things that we can't help with an antibiotic. What we want to do is naturally increase their protein sources, because protein is really good at building somebody's immune system. Really, really good, really important. Okay, and balances blood sugar. We'll come back to all of these things again in a moment. The third thing that should be at every meal, fat, protein, should be at every meal, is a little bit of smart carbs. Now, when I say the word carbs, a lot of women look at me like, carbs, no, carb phobia, we're not allowed to have carbs in our house, right? Body and Soul said don't have carbs, Huffington Post said don't have carbs, Lisa Wilkins, okay, forget it. I'm here to tell you the nutritional truths, right? Can we survive on no carbs, right? We can put our bodies in ketosis. I've just done a story for Vogue about that. I've done many medical stories on ketosis. Ketosis has its time and its place. If you don't know about it, I'll talk more about it later or at the break. You can put yourself in that state. However, the body really likes to work on some smart carbs, and they don't need to be in abundance because carbs fuel the brain. And they fuel the muscle for energy. So we've got people who are living on protein and fat. They'll come into our practice and they'll go, Michele, lost 6 kilos, this all-fat protein diet. My breath stinks, my body hurts, and I feel like crap. Well, guess what? What's happened is you put your body in such an alkaline state, such an acidic state, it becomes inflamed. And of course, people are losing weight in that state. Is it sustainable? No. In my world, I like people to come from a modern day world where you can be eating well and eating in abundance and having some wine and coffee. But to put yourself into such deprivation to me is so not fun, right? So let's go back to smart carbs. The body and the brain really like it. And what we are seeing a lot of is, again, with girls, but some men do this as well, is this no carb thing. So stay with me on this again. You don't need to be in my space to get this. Carbs provide fuel for the brain and the body, right? The thing is, if we don't have those on board, what ends up happening is our bodies end up relying on these adrenal glands that sit above our kidneys, right? So get this picture. You wake up in the morning, you're off to exercise, or you're off to work, or you're running here, and you're thinking about your parents, or you're doing this, or you're doing this thing for your parents, and you're on the go constantly, and you're fueling up with coffee, a few healthy muesli bars, right? Things like that. You're not actually fueling yourself properly, so you're just relying on the energy sources of those adrenal glands. Has anybody in here heard the term adrenal exhaustion? Yep. Right. You would know a lot of young people that are in a state of adrenal exhaustion. Their bodies are not nourished with proper nutrients and fuel, so they rely on their adrenal glands. Does it look like glandular fever? Absolutely. Does it look like they have iron deficiency? Absolutely. Do you sort of look at some of these people and think, gee, I hope there's something not bigger going on because this person's batteries are completely flat? Yeah. That's adrenal exhaustion. And I see a lot of you shaking your head about that. So that's one thing about not having carbs. There's 3 things I want to talk about. The second thing is not having carbs. We're seeing big research links between no carbs and women getting thyroid dysfunction. How crazy is that? The very reason why women are going no carbs because they're afraid to gain weight is actually putting them into hypothyroid state. So more research to come in that space. But more importantly, here's the thing about carbs that you need to know. Let's go back to protein. I always try to break it down to like simple kind of stuff, right? Protein, meat, chicken, fish, dairy, seeds, nuts. Breaks down to an amino acid called tryptophan, right? Tryptophan's a precursor to serotonin. Love that biochemical pathway. Stay with me. Smart carbs, quinoa, brown rice, buckwheat, whole grain breads, sweet potatoes, pumpkins, lots and lots and lots of vitamin Bs. Tryptophan from protein plus vitamin B creates a pathway to serotonin. It is biochemically impossible for our body to have that conversion without vitamin Bs. Why doesn't everybody know this? I don't understand. It's simple. It's simple. I mean, I'm telling you this, but how come more? We're all looking for, okay, where's the answer to anxiety, depression, mood disorder? How does everybody get more serotonin? I'm not saying this is the only pathway, because we're going to talk about other pathways, but this is an important missing link. People are missing that whole entire B group, and they're missing this whole conversion. Let's go back to this guy. Michele, I lost 6 kilos. My breath stinks. I've become very acidic. My joints hurt because I think I have osteoarthritis. No, guess what? You've become so inflamed. And they add to the, and my mood is flat. So they become inflamed, acidic, and they've got no vitamin Bs. They've got no energy. They've got no conversion to serotonin. Okay, so that's really good, interesting food for thought on all of that. Okay, you see I get excited. Okay, I've lost my little clicker. Oh, here we go. Okay, so where do we go? So smart carbs. So quinoa, brown rice, buckwheat, good quality breads. Again, we're going to go through a day in your life before we get to the end. So what I like to see is breakfast, lunch, and dinner punctuated with all 3 of these all the time. Now, this is just for your ears only, not for your students or not for young people. If at night you are someone that's trying to lose a bit of weight, maybe you don't have too much smart carbs at night, because carbs fuel the brain and fuel the body, right? So unless we're going to run a marathon or dance on tables or studying in the evening, we don't need that amount of carb on board at night. Breakfast and lunch, yeah, because you want to be that person beetling through the office at 4 o'clock in the afternoon going, okay, I got that to do, I got that to do, I got that to do. These people have usually a bit of carb on board. At night, you need to assess whether or not you need carb on board. Does everybody get that? I don't want that to be shared with young people. That's not how young people should be living. They should be able to have, particularly if they're studying and stuff like that, right? And also really important if there's anything going on cognitively for them to be having a little bit of those smart carbs. Where do we go wrong in the whole world of carb? This guy, right? Where the heck did he come from? The sugar monster. So here I get to speak on behalf of the World Health Organization. So the World Health Organization talks about having 6 teaspoons maximum of added sugar in our diet, right? Did everybody know that? Okay, so 6 teaspoons. Oh, only 3 years ago when I wrote Beating Sugar Addictions for Dummies, it was 10. But things are changing so quickly in the area of health and wellness. We know this. We have an epidemic of autoimmune diseases. We have an epidemic of cancer. We have an epidemic of estrogen-dominant conditions like polycystic ovary syndrome, endometriosis, fibroids. We have an epidemic in all of these things. It's insane. So actually, a couple of years ago was the first time that the World Health Organization got nutritionists like me to speak on TV about the connection and the links between sugar and cancer, right? So things are changing quickly in this space. 6 added teaspoons a day for maximum mental and physical health. Now, most of us here in Australia would be having between 34 and 44. And I would think that many of the students that some of you are seeing, or people that you're seeing, would be possibly even having more than 44. I recently had an exercise physiologist, smart, young, vibrant girl, do some consultations with me, and she said, Michele, I think that I'm having about 60 teaspoons of hidden sugar a day. She said, no wonder I'm going like this. I'm full of beans, then I'm not full of beans. I'm full of beans, and then I'm not full of beans, right? So it's hard to get your head around everything that is happening in this space, but we are having an abundance of hidden sugars in the healthiest of foods we eat. So let's have a little look at this. So I'm Jamie Oliver's health ambassador. I'm also Damon Gameau for That Sugar Film. Now, there's about to be a vote, I think, here in Australia on the sugar tax. Now, this is so mean of me to say, and it's the first time I'm going to go against these 2 guys. I don't think we need a sugar tax because what we need is just this one slide to share with every single person we love. Okay. If I say have a sugar tax, people are going to look at things and they're still going to buy it because they're not going to understand the impact on them. They're not even going to understand what's going on. But if you teach somebody in 3 simple, tiny steps on how to read a label, they'll go, wow, holy smokes, I didn't know that. So this is going to be one of the key take-home messages for today. When Again, when you're not eating real whole food, which you should be most of the time, when you're picking up the grab and go, you're going by the BP, you're going by the 7-Eleven, you're in the canteen, I get it, I live in the real world with you, we haven't always prepared our food. We're gonna pick it up and we're gonna go, okay, number one, can I read the ingredient? If you can read it and pronounce it, you're winning. Right? I mean, if your mother could pronounce it, then you're really winning. If your grandmother can understand it, then you're really winning, right? We want that ingredient as close to what sounds like real food as possible. So in this instance, when I was studying to become a nutritionist, I'd have 2 of these before I go to bed. Right? So as my husband would say, I was like the human vacuum cleaner, 3 little babies studying and working. And then at night, I'd just be like, oh, this is healthy. So anyway, so go back to reading the ingredients. So I look at this and I really, really want to love this and think that it's healthy. So I look at this and I go, okay, I've read the ingredient. I'm going to go to my next thing. Number 2, have a little look at the serving size. So just be really, really careful because you know how packages of yogurt come like in 2, right? So if the manufacturer gives you a tiny little serving size, which they do often in cereal, because cereal is often loaded with sugar, it'll be so tiny that if you poured out that serving size and you showed it to an 18-year-old, the 18-year-old would go, oh, I definitely eat that like Nutri-Grain, but I'd eat 10 bowls of those, right? So just beware of the serving size. In this instance, it's talking about 1 tub. Everybody with me? Because this is the most important thing. It's so ridiculously important that I cannot believe that we're going to spend millions of dollars on a sugar tax. But anyway, so 1 tub. Now, the life should not be so that we should look at calories or fat or protein grams. Of course, as a nutritionist, I can do that and I can guide people on that. But when we're eating real whole foods, we shouldn't be obsessed with those numbers. But what we should be obsessed with is point 3. I always want you to go to sugar on a package. I want you to pick it up, look at the number, and get good at one thing. Divide by the number 4. Okay, so in this instance, what is that number? Just to call it out, we can just, pardon? Teaspoons, yeah. So it's 30 grams up there. Just divide by 4. That's the golden rule from now on. Everything you're going to look at, you're going to think, what is this divided by 4? So we've got 30 divided by 4 is what? 7.5. Let's just round everything off because I'm super bad at maths, okay? So let's just say 7. Okay, would any of you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pop it in here. Have 1. Have 2 before I go to bed when I'm studying to be a nutritionist. Tired but wired. What does the World Health Organization say that we should be having maximum? 6. See how easy that was for me to have 14 teaspoons before I was going to bed? Talk about tired but wired. I'd be getting into bed. Like my husband would be like, what is wrong with you? You've been exhausted all day. I don't know. I was thinking about this. I think about this. I was like, what is wrong with me? I was always on a sugar high before going to bed. I was not eating and nourishing myself throughout the day properly. And at night, I became the human vacuum cleaner of everything healthy. Okay, I love doing things real time. So let's do another example to cement this. So I speak at a lot of corporates. So a couple of years ago, I was at Apple Corporation, and I used to work at Microsoft. So when I first came over here, I started with Microsoft, and I worked in the area of education. I got to go to all the unis around Australia. So I was at Apple, and some guy was in the audience having a smoothie. And I was like, hey, what's your name? He's like, John. I go, John, what are you having? He goes, I'm having a blueberry blast. I'm like, that's so awesome. Blueberries, low sugar, vitamin C, underpins your skin collagen. Oh, that's great, John. You're like so winning. Because as a nutritionist, you always want to find good things for people to grab and go and to eat. You really do. You want to support manufacturers and find some healthy things out there. So I'm thinking, okay, we're on to a winner. So I said, let's Google this real time. So we pull it up, and I go, wait a minute, we're on this site, there's no ingredients. Because remember the 3 things. 1, look for the ingredient. 2, look for the serving size. 3, look at the sugar content. Number 1, no ingredient. That should be a big red flag. When you cannot find the ingredient on a product, it should say something's wrong. Number 2, I went, okay, all right, let's go on beyond that. Okay, the serving size. So have a look up there, it says 100 ml. See at the top? Okay, so it's 100 ml, but in this smoothie, right, I've got 650. So stay with me. If you don't get it, just raise your hand, because this is important, because you're going to share this with everyone you know. So I've got 100 ml, 200 ml, 300 ml, 400 ml, 500 ml, 600 ml, right? So everybody good with this? Okay, so it's a pretty big, small serving size, pretty big cup, but most people who are drinking a smoothie for lunch would drink this, right? Maybe even with a healthy muesli bar. Okay, so now go to sugar, and you'll see it's circled in red. So it's 14.7. So let's just say 15, okay? Again, I'm bad at maths, right? And let's just say 15, and then we're going to times it by 6 servings, because we know there's 6 servings. How many grams of sugar does that give me? 90. What's the magic rule of number that you're going to look at everything in your pantry with tonight? What do you think 90 divided by 4 is? 22 and a bit. Just close your eyes for 1 second and listen to what I'm about to say. 22.5 teaspoons, almost 4 times the amount of the World Health Organization just in one thing that you're having. Now, I want you to think about not only yourself having that 1 hour, you're fine. 90 minutes later, you're like, what the hell, did I just say that? I'm ready to fall asleep. I hope no one's looking. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go sit in the bathroom toilet just for a little while and close my eyes. Oh, I better go for a walk outside. I have iron deficiency. I am sure I'm a hormonal. Oh my God, my husband is so right. My hormones are so messing with me. Oh, we think it's bad for us? What about our poor kids? What about our poor kids? Right? Like, how easy is that to share with everyone we know and love? I mean, I'm going to get onto a lot deeper stuff, but that is an easy thing for us to take away and to go through our pantry. This is not about never having sugar again. This is about being aware of how you're feeding this, how you're feeding this, how you're feeding this, how you're feeding all of this. Right? It's not about never having sugar again. That's silly. It's just when we're not eating real whole food and we're picking up stuff, what do we pick up and how are we going to nourish ourselves? Okay, so now, PJ, you might be able to help me if you don't mind. Underneath many chairs, there are healthy looking things. Could you please pick them up and share with your neighbors how much sugar is in that per serving? I think they're all towards the center. That's great. Thank you. Oh, no, just I want you to read it. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. So just for the sake of time, because you're not going to believe how much I can talk, it's ridiculous. Just for the sake of time, we'll wind up, and I'm going to point out a few things because I think it's important for all of us to see some of them. Okay, so most of the things that I have planted are things that have a perception of somewhat healthy. Not always, but like the shapes, for example. I put those out because a lot of people are eating those things, right? And the thing is, remember what we talked about. Number 1, read the ingredient. So shapes are not high in sugar, but if you go to try to read the ingredient, you're thinking, is this a chemical maze? Do I have to be like a biochemist to read some of this stuff? Like, have you ever read the noodles, you know, those flavored noodle packages, and you try to read the ingredients? You can't even pronounce the stuff. So that's when I say, when I pick up something like that, I go, that's really kind of got to be a sometimes food. So the sugar in something like shapes or something like that is not high. I also bring those out for an example. One, just the ingredients are frankenfood, but two, also to know, having chips or corn chips or kettle chips, they're not a bad thing. Are they perfect food? No, but they're far, far better choices than some of the things we're just about to talk about. So the snakes, the jelly snakes, can you hold up that bag? Okay, so how many of you have been like me, and at night you're studying or doing something late and you're like, oh, nature, all natural, artificial, free, no preservatives. 1, 2, oh, half the bag's gone. Damn, I might as well just eat the whole bag. I don't want my kids to know that. Right? I mean, this was common when I was studying. I'd go home from the BP facing my 3 little kids, going home for the night. And you know in the BP, when you go buy the little bag of licorice, all sorts, that's at the front, and you go, oh, it's so innocent looking. It's so tiny. And you have a look at it, and you read it, and it's 33 teaspoons in a little tiny bag sitting at the BP counter, right? So just on that, how many, yeah, it's so tiny.
There's 11 grams of sugars and 8 servings.
Right, so just roughly, just so you know, in those all natural, 100% free, fat-free, beware when anything says fat-free or gluten-free, that they're packed with sugar, right? So basically 1 teaspoon per snake. Right? A minty, 1 teaspoon per minty. I don't know anybody that eats 1 minty. I certainly don't. As you can see, I'm pretty much a woman of extreme. When I have a cup of tea, I've got like 3 tea bags. So, you know, I've learned how to navigate this whole world of mine of extreme approaches to eating. So snakes, okay, beware. Again, not never food, but wow, you want to talk about a sugar high and a sugar load. So if you had that whole bag, how many servings was in that bag? 8. 8 times what was the 11. So you've got 88 grams of sugar in that bag. You can see how you can be going like this. Okay, so who's got the lift? Okay, great. So, you know, lift gives us the perception that it'd be better than Coca-Cola, right? Because it's lemon, right? Is that just my head or everybody's, right? Okay, how many teaspoons of sugar in the lift? 50, right. So 50 divided by 4 is actually, what, 12? Right. So it's more than a can of Coke, because a can of Coke is 40. So how about this about Coke? Does anybody in here have the Coke with the green label as a prop? No, okay. So there's a Coke out that has the green label. It's called Coke Life, because Coke knew that they were starting to get beat up all around sugar. So they come out with Coke Life. So again, as a nutritionist, I'm like, all right, good on you, Coke. That's awesome. I'm going to support you. Pick up the Coke Life. The same exact amount of sugar and a tiny bit of added stevia. Oh my goodness, my like New Yorker brain went just off my head. Like, really? That's so unfair to do to adults. But again, kids, perception. Oh, I'm going to have Coke Life. This is going to be good for me. My blood sugar is going to be balanced. I won't look like I have, you know, brain fog. I won't look like I'm up and down and moody and all over the place. I won't beat myself up because I'm so sick of other people beating myself up. You know that downhill cycle of self-esteem that kids get? Okay, so lift. Okay, who's got something else that's interesting? Who's got the healthy muesli bar? Okay, how many grams of sugar in that? 18. Okay, so 18 divided by 4, so that's 4 and a bit. Not so bad. There's another muesli bar that's pretty high in sugar. It's one that says gluten-free, all healthy. Okay, well, there's another one floating around. And it's, I don't know, cost a fortune, right? Like $7 or something. Buy me, I'm gluten-free, I'll make your eyes shine, right? Like you're peeling, you're looking at it. And then you look at the label and it's 7 teaspoons of sugar. It's not uncommon for a muesli bar to be quite high in sugar and just have that perception. So usually between 5 and 8 teaspoons in a healthy muesli bar. So let's say I have this muesli bar here and I pick up a vitamin water, right? Or the San Pellegrino flavored orange mineral water that you have. How many teaspoons of sugar in that?
So there's 28 grams total, so 7?
7. So how many people would pick up that can, mineral water with a little bit of orange in it, right? So 7 teaspoons. Take my muesli bar, let's say 7 teaspoons. Take my either vitamin water or my San Pellegrino that's flavored. I've got 14 teaspoons of sugar. Can you see how our blood sugar is going up and going down? Can you see how most Australians are having more than 34 teaspoons a day? Okay, all right, good. Any questions on that before we move on there? Sure, you can ask a question. Of course.
On this bottle, it's saying that sugar's the second highest ingredient, but in the nutritional information, it's just listing it as energy. It hasn't got it as actual sugar.
Yeah. So that's so you just have to become a label detective. Like I tell all my patients, you have to become a label detective. But I'm so glad you brought that up. What's your name? Aquila? Yes. What a beautiful name. So this is a great. You can't make these things up that I say. Thank you, PJ. So recently I was at Knox Grammar in Sydney, a big rugby team. And so going through all this with the kids, right? And talking to the kids about making different choices. So this one boy, skin super inflamed, and he's got 2 of these, but in cartons under his feet. One was honey and one was banana, right? So he said, Michele, he said, can you just stop before you go on to the next slide? He said, I'm on the rugby team, and he said, I'm trying to build my lean muscle mass. And he said, and as you said, protein is really good for lean muscle mass. He said, so I'm doing all that by drinking milk. And he said, and if I look at these 2 cartons that are underneath my feet, and that's just a small bit of what I eat during the day, he said, each carton has 17 teaspoons of sugar. He said, am I reading that wrong? And I said, no, you're not. You're having 34 teaspoons of sugar just in your milk at your morning tea. How crazy is that? We wonder why we have a bunch of kids that are tired but wired, not having any brain concentration, not feeling good about themselves. Crazy, insane, right? Okay, so here is a very, very important truths, right? So again, you know that I write for the Sydney Morning Herald. I'm about to publish my next book with Pan Macmillan. Here's some nutritional truths that you should be aware of. You may be aware of some of them, and if not, you will see a lot of these come out over the next 18 months. So nutritional truths. Thanks, PJ. I've got 15 minutes. Okay, good. Okay, sugar. Evidence-based truths. Number 1. Okay, so sugar, we put sugar in our systems, these hidden sugars through all these things, not always intentionally, right? Sometimes intentionally, but not always intentionally thinking that we're doing the right thing. And when we have added sugar, hidden sugars in our diet, our gut bacteria goes, wow, party, this is awesome. So we've got good bacteria and we've got bad bacteria in our gut. The bad bacteria starts to go insane. It creates this thing called candida. Candida creates all sorts of issues, from fuzzy brain to poor digestion to lethargic, feeling absolute junk. Candida appears in many ways, from brain fog to chronic sinusitis, to IBD, irritable bowel syndrome. I can't tell you the number of people we see with irritable bowel syndrome. So, okay, stay with me. Hidden sugars creates candida. People go from flat tummy to puffy tummy in 2 hours and go, what the heck is with my tummy? What's going on with my tummy? Oh my goodness, this is embarrassing. Michele, you don't understand. I can't be in class because I feel like I have to go to the bathroom, and I have to go to the bathroom. I barely make it to the toilet. I feel like I should wear a nappy. This is terrible. Doctor says I can't do anything. We know this story. IBS is painful, embarrassing, silent, right? So here's the thing. When we have all sorts of gut issues or in a healthy gut, these microbes in our gut create our serotonin. So this up here, we used to always say, oh, these people are depressed, they need an SSRI. You know, they're gonna have anxiety or depression medication. We now know the truth, 110%, is most of our serotonin, up to 95% of our serotonin, is made in our gut. Does it not make sense if this gut gets cleaned up with real whole food that is not full of hidden sugar, that this will start to get okay, or at least we start to mitigate the risk factors. To me, that is so awesome, because what I see is probably like what you see. I see hundreds of kids every week in a state of disrepair. I do a talk once a week. I will get on my Facebook or my emails or phone calls to say, Michele, how'd you know that about me? That's me. No one knows that I feel that way. No one knows that I dislike myself. No one knows that I'm in this downhill cycle, this black vortex. Of course we know that. We've probably had spaces of that ourselves as adults. What about these poor kids? Really, really big concept, right? How awesome is that? By just doing a little bit of a cleanup, we can start affect and create more serotonin. Second thing I want to talk about is sugar, and an abundance of sugar leads to a lower immune system. Those people that are getting colds, flus, viruses, glandular fever, cytomegaloviruses, viruses, again, things that we cannot hit with an antibiotic. We need to boost these people's immune system. Having an abundance of sugar will actually reduce your immune factors. So literally, if I was to do a blood test on myself today, my white blood cell count will be roaring. It's like, okay, good, you're in a healthy space. I go home to New York with my big Italian family, my crazy family, and we eat an abundance of cannolis and sugar almonds, and I go crazy with them as well. And I would come back and redo my blood pathology. My white blood cell count would actually be lower. You risk yourself. So I never say no sugar, right? Unless we are seeing serious cases of people constantly getting pneumonia, bronchitis, respiratory infections, we really clamp down on their sugar, and you start to see the immune system fly. It's awesome. It's amazing just with food. Okay, I don't need to tell you this. Sugar will make somebody completely wired, and then will leave them completely tired. You know this yourself. You know this in your children, in the people that you teach. Okay, here's something you may not be aware of. Sugar leads to all sorts of inflammatory responses, from whether it's acne, so a boost in your insulin and what we call some affecting your insulin receptors will affect your skin, your acne, your wrinkles, all those kind of things, right? So people say, oh, no, that's white witchcraft. No, it is absolutely true that it will affect all of those things. But the bigger story here is that sugar not only affects inflammation on your face or aging on your face, but sugar creates a massive amount of inflammation. Alcohol, coffee, stress, all creates inflammation. Sugar is the biggest cause of inflammation in our bodies. It doesn't matter whether you have a migraine, whether you have thyroid, whether you have cardiovascular disease, digestive disease, osteoarthritis, or gout. You name the condition in your body. Every single one of those, the underlying pathology is inflammation. If you dampen inflammation, you tend to get somebody who all of a sudden is less symptomatic, right? Does it mean that we will cure somebody with rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, thyroid disease, or digestive disease? No. Does it mean that we will calm the signs and symptoms and the pain so that someone's able to have vitality, energy, and happy hormones? Absolutely. I can tell you hundreds of cases where people have come to us and said, Michele, you've got to be kidding me. I've had an endoscope. I've had colonoscopies. I spent $10,000 with gastroenterologists. You've done 3 small shifts in my diet, and it's made that big of a difference? Or how about this? Michele, I've got rheumatoid arthritis. My husband's got ankylosing spondylitis, and my child's got osteoarthritis. And we've spent $20,000 on rheumatologists. We are in so much pain all the time, we can't even exercise. You tell us to do a few things and we feel better? Yeah, it's so awesome, the power of nutrition. It's unbelievable. Okay, hormones. We have about 2 more minutes and then we're gonna break. Hormones. Sugar really, really messes with our hormones. So stay with me on this because you're going to be talking about this at a dinner party. You're going to go, that crazy New Yorker nutritionist, right? She said that sugar really messes with hormones. So we've got this beautiful liver. It naturally detoxifies, right? We want this liver to be humming along and quite clean because we want our hormones to go through our body and we want to excrete those hormones, right? We don't want those hormones being reabsorbed back in the body because we don't have a clean liver. We want that liver to be functioning in our digestion because when estrogens are reabsorbed, what did I say was an estrogen dominant condition? Breast cancer, fibroids, polycystic ovary syndrome, endometriosis. How many women, if you're women, we know that we are surrounded by women, painful periods, cystic breasts. These are estrogen dominant conditions. The cleaner the liver, the better the estrogen dissipates from the body, right? Simple step, but stay with me. When I say liver alcoholic cirrhosis, when I say liver alcoholic, what do we think? Cirrhosis of the liver, right? Just think about this, visualize, banged up liver. We call that a fatty liver disease, right? Has anybody heard that term, fatty liver disease? Okay, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease looks the same as this liver, all banged up, not processing stuff, not processing estrogen, not processing testosterone the way it should be. This liver's all banged up. What do you think this is banged up from? Sugar and processed food. We almost have an epidemic of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now that I've told you this, watch, you're going to see it in the papers like nonstop for the next 3 weeks, 3 months. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So we've got this liver that's all banged up, not working properly, right? We're trying to get rid of these hormones. We're trying to get them to remove from our bodies. A lot of them are being reabsorbed. Okay, stay with me for one more thing on this. We have diets that are high in sugar. Now, I want you to all imagine this girl. So this girl's usually about anywhere between the ages of, let's say, 20 and 35. Or it could be a man, and they're quite a slim fit. They're what I call a racehorse. They're the kind of people that I used to look at and go, oh, can't stand you. Like, you eat everything and you stay slim, right? So these people are what I call slender rusters. They are constantly eating Lift, muesli bars, jelly snakes, all these they're just constantly eating all this stuff, right? So they're slim people, but they're rusting, or what we call oxidizing on the inside. So they come to our practice and they go, Michele, been on birth control pills for 10 years. Finally trying to get pregnant, have all sorts of problems with my period. You know, look at me, I'm a healthy specimen, have all sorts of... Go to the doctor says, go to do a blood test. Blood test comes back and says, I have really high insulin. He asked me what I eat. I said, I eat this, I eat healthy things. Okay, well, let's see how healthy. Oh, doctor also said I need to go and have a little look. Oh my goodness, Michele, I've got polycystic ovary syndrome. Doctor said I need to go to the IVF clinic. I need to have to start to look at fertility. Has anybody heard this kind of story before? Yes, if you're a woman, you know the story. I got to calm the New Yorker in me. Polycystic ovary syndrome is not a disease pathology of diseased ovaries. Sometimes, 10, 15%, there's a pathology of the ovaries. Most of the time, it is purely blood sugar dysregulation and insulin. In fact, so much so that the medical community is going to change the name on that. Now, can I go back to this person over here? This affects a whole entire person's life. Not just if you're a female, but the partner's life, the family's life. We know any disease process goes out to the whole family. These people think that they can never have children again, because a lot of them are just slender rusters and they have no idea that it has a relationship with food. How about that? How about that to change the world? Unbelievable, right? Shouldn't all this stuff be shared with everybody? Crazy. Okay, one more slide. Oh, when I was finishing the book, Beating Sugar Addictions for Dummies, we had to stop print because the Journal of Neurology talked about sugar and its links to type 3 diabetes, early onset Alzheimer's, and dementia. Unbelievable, big links there. We know that sugar drives cholesterol way beyond any kind of alcohol or fat ever has. and I talked to you already about messing up the liver. So we have lots and lots of other things to talk about, including a day in your life when we come back. I'll be floating around for the next 10 minutes as well. And then shortly after our talk, I have to rush out because I'm speaking in Sydney this afternoon. So feel free to make sure at the next half that you ask questions. There's still a lot of it. I can't believe how much I can talk. It's ridiculous. So there's a lot more to talk about, but start to think about some of your questions for me, and we'll be making sure that we make the next part very interactive with a day in your life. Thank you.
Very well.
Put up a really good recipe for today, a blissful recipe. But also you will find on our website, Instagram, and Facebook hundreds of free recipes. At the end of today, thank you, whoever turned me on. At the end of today, PJ, you work wonders. You are unbelievable. At the end of today, PJ's going to tell me when it's 10 to 12, and we are going to grab those clipboards that are going around, and 5 people are going to win one of our programs, which is called Low Sugar Lifestyle. So, as mentioned, I'm not Paleo Pete, and I'm not Sarah Wilson. I sit perfectly in the middle of the two of them, and quite often when I'm speaking on stage with them, I actually ask to be put in the middle because, again, I don't think about, I think in an extreme space is exactly that. It's just too extreme, and most people can't live like that. But most people can live with the fact of eating real whole foods most of the time, and with the thought of when you're doing a grab and go food that you're actually looking at the label. Okay, bless you. Okay, so let's pick up and keep going. So where we're going to pick up is when I refer to things that were underneath your seats, I refer to them as twigs, fast burners, right? Because when I'm speaking to kids, I will often get them to visualize like a bonfire. And if a fire is full of logs, right? And I get them to visualize and say, let's say you're out camping and it's 5 degrees out and you could sleep by a fire that was full of logs or full of twigs. What would you sleep by? So of course, most of the kids say, logs, of course. And I said, why? Oh, well, it's more heat, it's more energy, it'll last longer versus the twigs. And I said, exactly. That's what I want you to think about your athletic performance. Remember, I'm always appealing to their vanity. Your athletic performance, your academic, your brain, your skin, all things happen better when you're having logs. So that's how I always use this terminology, twigs versus logs. So we know that when we're eating twigs and our blood sugar's bouncing around like that, we are hangry, or the people that we are working with are hangry. We know that when we're hangry, we're not thinking about what someone's teaching us or telling us about, or about how to make ourselves better. We're just thinking about, I'm hungry and angry, and I don't care what this person has to say. Moody, brain fog, low vitality, low energy, no nutrients, low vitamin B. When we're eating things like logs, when our blood sugar is flattened, we're satisfied, satiated, brain clarity, vitality, energy. What does that look like in terms of our food, right? So these are just some things for you to start to be aware of, right? Now, all of you can get a copy of my presentation. You have a piece of paper inside your bags with my details on it. So if you email me, it will come to me, and my gorgeous Felicia will send you out a copy. So you don't need to take a photograph of this if you don't want, whatever. So, okay, twigs versus logs. So here we go. So here are some of the common twigs that we eat, of course. Lollies, jelly snakes, jelly beans, lollies. White bread, white rice, white pasta. Okay, so these are what I call the white foods. So white bread. We live in Australia. We've got the most awesome bread in the world. Like, America's still way behind in terms of bread. So here's what I think about white bread. In kindergarten, your teacher said, does everybody want to make Play-Doh today? And people go, yeah. The teacher would give you white flour and water and a bit of cream of tartar. White bread, white flour, bit of salt and water. Why would anybody eat a bowl of Play-Doh? It's like eating a bowl of Play-Doh. You want to talk about poor digestion, running to the bathroom, constipated, pain in the tummy. I have such good, when this tummy is zapped, those digestive processes take a lot of energy. When this tummy feels light and nourished and stuff like that, it's a lot of energy freed up. We know this intuitively. We know this, right? Okay, so here's the thing about white rice and pasta. My Italian mother would shoot me if I said never to eat pasta again. Here's the thing. When you were eating twigs like breads, like white rice, like pasta, occasional foods like that, what I want you to be thinking about is combining it with your protein and your fat. You see on the log side where it says protein and fat? So stay with me. If I have a fast burner, like a bowl of pasta, and I put a bit of olive oil on it and some bolognese on it, all of a sudden my blood sugar isn't going, it's going, ooh, okay. If I'm having a rice cracker, which is a fast burner, and I put some nut butter on it or some goat's cheese on it, which is protein and fat, all of a sudden I go to my blood sugar like this. But if I was just having a rice cracker, I'm up and I'm down. Important concept, right? This is about, I always try to expand everybody's palate instead of taking away food, okay? Have the rice cracker, have the bolognese occasionally, have the white rice occasionally. Brown rice is always better, but white, and if you are, make sure you have as much protein and a bit of fat with that so you blunt this thing from going all over the place. Does that make sense? Okay, great. That's an important concept. Okay, sushi rice, instant noodles, fast burners, packaged muffins and cakes. I love muffins and cakes. There's hundreds of free recipes on a Healthy View website and Instagram. Have a look at them. Have fun with those things. When the heck did the muffin become the size of a doorstop? Like, what the heck's happened to muffins, right? So when you look at these packaged muffins now, they're like 10, 12 teaspoons of sugar, right? So loaded, packed with stuff that we can't even read the label, but packed with sugar. So have fun with food. We spend more time watching TV, cooking classes than we do cooking. Cooking shouldn't be hard. It should be a bit of fun, particularly when you have time. Fruit juice. So someone asked me about this a minute ago and about fruit. So here's the thing. When I talk about hidden sugars, I mean sugar as in terms of sugar, not natural sugars, right? Because I believe that the body should have some natural sugars. Now, for some of us that are trying to drop some weight, I like lower sugar fruits, like apples, pears, and berries. They're always going to be low sugar. Your tropical fruits, your bananas, your dried fruits, your mangoes will always be your high sugar fruits. Intuitively, just think about this. Dates, mangoes, pineapples, super, super sweet. Berries, not so sweet, right? Okay, so who asked me about fruit juice before a fruit? Doesn't matter. Okay, so fruit juice. Fruit juice is on the twig side, so I'm going to put this in this hand. Let's pretend this is an apple juice that I buy. It says organic, Whole Foods, $9 to buy me, tiny little apple juice. I'm like, this is crazy, right? So this is an apple juice, and it's made from the juice of 4 apples, right? So let's say the natural sugars in this, let's just hypothetically say that it's 24 grams of natural sugar, okay? It's still going to spike the blood sugar up and spike the blood sugar down because it doesn't have any fiber in it, right? It doesn't have any skin in it. It's just all that. It's not bad to have, not at all. It's going to have some nutrients in it, but it's going to spike the blood sugar the same way a Coca-Cola does, right? So what I say is it took 4 apples to make that apple juice. Why not eat 4 apples? Right? Because an apple with the fiber and the skin on it is going to keep it as a log, right? So if you're having juices, I say to people, have vegetable juices as opposed to fruit juices, or have juices that have the fiber in it. There are some places that do that, okay? Again, this is not about never having that. This is just about being aware of people's blood sugar. When you get your blood sugar balanced, when your blood sugar starts to look like the log side, you are not going to believe the unbelievable amount of energy, emotional resilience, physical and mental stamina. It is extraordinary. The founder of Black Dog, Peter Joseph, is one of my clients as well as a mentor. His whole family has come and done low sugar programs with us. He meets me for lunch and he says, Michele, he said, I did this program. He said, had all my kids do it, then I had my grandchildren do it. He said, it is so unbelievable powerful. And I said, I know, Peter. And he goes, no, like I've had my 7-year-old grandchildren do this. And I go, I know. And he goes, you really do know. And I said, of course. This is why I do what I do. I don't do what I do for money. I do what I do for love. Like, this is amazing kind of stuff. Does anybody know what I'm talking about in this space? Has anybody ever gone through a low sugar transformation and you just go, holy smokes, this is crazy. This is crazy good. And then we slip back into naughty habits and then we get reminded again, right? Okay, alcohol. Particularly cocktails will be really, really high in sugar, right? So your lowest sugar alcohol will be your beer is low in sugar, but it's got yeast and a whole bunch of other things. Our highest sugar will be champagne and cocktails. Then we go white wine, then we go red wine. And I say to people that are really moving into a low sugar lifestyle, maybe think about having a bit of spirits with some soda water, with a touch of cranberry, with a touch of mint, or touch of, something like that, if you're really trying to cement moving into this space, right? Rice crackers, like I said, they're not a bad thing, but a rice cracker on its own, just like a piece of toast on its own, boom, fire, and out. What do you need to do? Where's your protein? Where's your fat? Oh, a bit of nut butter, a bit of avocado, a bit of goat's cheese. What else am I gonna? Oh, a piece of bread with, I'm gonna sprinkle some flax seeds on it. I don't know, do something funny with it. But it shouldn't just be a rice cracker alone, or pasta alone, or white rice alone. Like I see a lot of kids have white rice just with soy sauce on it, right? Not so great, It's like the fire's up, the fire's out. All of a sudden they've gone from gorgeous to grumpy in, 90 minutes, and you're looking at this person, it could be your own child, and you're thinking, what the heck? A minute ago you were the child of my life, and now you're like crazy person. This happens, right? It's not uncommon. Oh, wait, let's just go back here. Okay, so we know on the log side, quality proteins and fats, that what we do is they dampen the blood sugar. So they keep the blood sugar going like that. You can also add to that side fiber. So I know this is a funny example, but this will bring it home for you. If I had flax seeds, which I think is something that everybody should have in their diet every day, a bit of flaxseed, a bit of chia seed, because they're full of fiber. If I took a teaspoon of that and I put it in a can of Coca-Cola, instead of my blood sugar going like this, it would blunt a little bit. This is an important concept because fiber is really key in blunting that. So if you're making a smoothie for kids or yourself, put some fiber in it, like chia seeds, like flax seeds in it. It will thicken it up, and it's great fiber. So fiber not only blunts the blood sugar, but guess what? It keeps all this moving really happily, right? We want that to be moving happily. We want our liver to be getting rid of these toxins, our digestion to be removing them. Not even a nutritionist can get the amount of recommended fiber that we need to be getting between 25 and 35 grams. It's hard. So chia seeds and flax seeds should be part of everybody's diet. We'll talk about your diet in a moment. Okay, pastas, breads that are whole grain, made from good sources, fruit smoothies, yogurts. I love smoothies. I mean, I really should work for NutriBullet. When people started to tell me, oh, you're not going to get a NutriBullet, I'm like, I'm not getting one more thing. Does anybody have a NutriBullet or something like that? If you don't, you really should, because the thing that goes on the NutriBullet base is about this big. You can put your berries in, you can put your water in, or your almond milk or something like that. chia seeds, some peanut butter, raspberry with cocoa nibs. You can make whatever you want in that. You can make a chocolate mint smoothie, right? So imagine putting like chocolate nibs in it or a chocolate protein powder, which we'll talk about protein powder in a moment, and adding a touch of mint essence. And all of a sudden you've got a kid going, wow, this is crazy good. And there's not one bit of added sugar in it. Like there's all sorts of fun things that we can do with that. We'll come back. Okay, almond seeds, sultanas, fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, chickpeas, hummus, rice crackers with nut butters and things like that. Who likes hummus here? Yeah, hummus is just it's a great food, right? It's protein and a carb, you know, and in that group of lentils, chickpeas, hummus, lentils provide a really, really good source of iron. So for those people that are vegans and vegetarians, really, really important to be thinking about your iron stores. Okay, let's have a little look at what Jamie has to say.
For me, there ain't no need to flavour the milk, okay? There's sugar in everything. I know the ins and outs of those ingredients. It's in everything. Even the milk hasn't escaped the kind of modern day problems. There's our milk, there's our carton. In that is nearly as much sugar as one of your favourite cans of fizzy pop, and they're having 2 a day. So, let me just show you. We've got one kid here having, 8 tablespoons of sugar a day, There's your week, there's your month, and I've took the liberty of putting in just the 5 years of elementary school sugar, just from milk. Now, I don't know about you guys, but judging the circumstances, right, any judge in the whole world would look at the statistics and the evidence, and they would find any government of old guilty of child abuse. That's my belief.
Has anybody seen that TED Talk with Jamie Oliver? Okay, so I don't know how old it is now, but it was probably in the early days of my clinical practice and doing lots of writing when I saw that. And I was so alarmed at that. Oh, so he goes on from that, and he says to the audience, does anybody in this audience have children? Half the audience raises their hand. He said, do you know children? So, of course, everybody in the audience has their hand raised. And he said, it is for those of you that have your hand raised, which was everybody, to let you know that the children that you have your hand raised for will die 10 years before my generation due to dietary-related diseases, insulin resistance, diabetes, diabetes type 2, cancer, autoimmune condition, everything that we've talked about today. So I listened to that, I replayed it again. I replayed it to like 14 times, and my husband's like, are you in love with Jamie Oliver? I'm like, yes. So I emailed Jamie Oliver's office in the UK, and I said, I'm a writer, I write for a lot of the publications. I said, I would like to see that research. I said, it's really important to me. I said, you're saying that the next generation, there's evidence-based to say that they will die 10 years before us due to dietary-related diseases. Yeah, so is that not extraordinary to you? Like, that is extraordinary to me. That something that we voluntarily do will lead to this situation where our children will be at risk of dying earlier than us. To me, that is extraordinary. But here's the thing. Now you are armed and dangerous. You have some secret weapons to share. And how simple is that? Eat real whole food as much as possible. And when you're not, you're going to divide by the number 4, and you're going to make a conscious decision about it. Right? Okay. Let's move on to diet soft drink, because this always comes up. So diet soft drink, I won't stay on it too long. I would rather you have a can of Coke than to have Diet Coke, right? So my friend Joseph McCullough runs a very big health and wellness company in the United States. He's very much a researcher. He starts to research all about artificial sweeteners, and he writes a book called Sweet Deception. And Johnson & Johnson manufactures a lot of these artificial sweeteners. And so he starts to do a lot of research. He's a research-based doctor. And Johnson & Johnson sends him a paper that's about 20 pages long with a lawsuit. and says, if you produce this book, we're going to sue you and sue your company. We're going to take you down. We're a big company. And he looks at all, and he looks at his book, and it was all evidence-based, all research, and he said, go ahead and sue me then. So it's a very interesting and alarming book that we know. We don't have all the evidence about these artificial sweeteners causing cancer, but we have a hell of a lot of yellow flags. And I always say to people, if there's a yellow flag waving, veer around it. Don't use the artificial sweetener. Use something called stevia. Right? Does anybody know stevia? Okay, it's a great bridge when you're looking to go low sugar. And if you don't like stevia, try something that's emerging on the market called monk fruit, M-O-N-K fruit. You'll see a lot of that coming into the market. It doesn't have the same aftertaste as stevia. How about this? That airline pilots in the United States several years ago were not allowed to have a diet soft drink 48 hours before they flew because of all the neurological effects, from migraines to sight, etc. Like, how come the rest of the world doesn't know that? If pilots can't be having that, why should our kids be having 2 or 3 of them a day, right? Okay, so this is a part where we're going to get more to you and about you. But first, we're going to just have a little look at this.
Oh, you're terrible.
Wait! Stop! Don't eat that food!
Who are you? What are you doing in our house?
I'm from the future. I'm here to warn you, don't eat that food.
Why not?
The eggs, they're full of cholesterol.
What?
Cholesterol, it clogs up your arteries. Eating even just one egg can dramatically increase your chance of heart attack. Don't eat eggs.
Oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome. Godspeed.
Well, I guess I better take those eggs.
Wait! Stop!
You're back!
Yeah, we were wrong about the eggs.
How?
Well, it turns out there's 2 types of cholesterol. There's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, and eggs actually have both. So you can eat eggs, but just don't eat the egg yolks. So stick with the egg whites.
Yes, thank you.
Godspeed. Yeah, okay, so it turns out that the amount of cholesterol in a food doesn't actually affect how much cholesterol ends up in your blood. The eggs are probably fine. In fact, we sort of don't even know what cholesterol is. But the steak! You can't eat the steak!
Why?
Okay. So basically, this sums up the confusion, right? What the heck to eat? This is all crazy. Things are changing all the time. But here's the good news. The good news is that there's such a spotlight on preventative wellness now that there's so much more money going into the area of research, and that's awesome. Because, you know, this kind of stuff is happening to people every single day, and they have no idea what to eat. You know, 1 minute you're eating eggs, the next minute you're not eating bread, and it goes around and around. Okay, so let's try to clear up some of that confusion. But before we go into a day in your life, I just want to share with you something I wasn't going to share, but I think it's so important for you guys to know. So I did this talk at Happiness and Its Causes, Mental Health Hijackers That Could Be Lurking in Your Food. And it will be an upcoming TED Talk and an upcoming book. And I'm just going to go through it really quickly. And not something I'm going to labor on, but just something for you to start to be thinking about. So, you know, I got really, really curious about this area of mental health and anxiety and depression and mood disorders because it was extraordinary to me. Every single time I went to school, and this is not something I had anticipated, every single time I went to a school, afterwards, phone calls, emails, bombard me on social media. Michele, that's me. I'm in a dark place. And my eating's all over the place. I'm like a roller coaster. I'm the slender ruster you were talking about. Michele, I eat 60 teaspoons of sugar a day. Extraordinary. Then I'd start to speak in corporates. And so after a corporate presentation, people would have me come in and stuff like that. It didn't matter whether the person invited me to have a consultation with them about their irritable bowel disease or about their insulin resistance. It often ended up in, Michele, I'm also suffering with a bit of anxiety and depression. So curious. I got so curious about this space, so I started researching. So anxiety and depression is very real, right? Very real, scary and silent. But there's other things that are kind of happening that are appearing like anxiety and depression and mood disorders that maybe aren't necessarily anxiety and depression, but risk factors for them. So I want to uncover a few of them for you. So, vitamin B12. I'm just going to flick up a few of the studies that I've looked at. Who's at risk of low vitamin B12? Vegans and vegetarians. Do I discriminate against them? Absolutely not. I don't discriminate against gluten-free or dairy-free or vegans or vegetarians. What I'm saying is these people need to be very aware and need to be looking at these things. If people are appearing like they have mental health disorders, they need to be tested for this. And any good GP should allow that testing. We know that there's an association between dietary patterns and mental health in early adolescence. The information is all out there. The gut biome and dietary psychiatric, a focus on depression. The link between thyroid, and I stopped, remember earlier, thyroid and depression. I cannot tell you the number of people that say to me, Michele, I've been on antidepressants for 5 years. This antidepressant has blunted me, made me gain weight. I have no libido because of the antidepressant. And no one ever checked my thyroid. Check your thyroid. Good quality breakfast associated with better mental health in adolescents. Again, there's a lot of studies out there. We know this, right? Psychiatric disorders and iron deficiencies. This is huge. 19 out of 20 of our women, females that will come into our practice will have very low iron stores. A doctor might look at the blood pathology and go, oh, you're within range. I'm always looking at low end of range. It needs to be boosted. We know that low iron has very, very big biochemical pathway links to dopamine and to neurotransmitters and things that are in the mental health space. Low iron leads to heavy periods. Heavy periods leads to low iron. Young women go around and around and around in this vicious circle, often come to our practice. They say, we're about to go on antidepressants and medication. And I go, that's fine, but not until we do your blood test and iron stores. Put them on an iron supplement, 6 weeks, have them come back into clinic. How you going? Do you want me to talk to your doctor today about whatever you're going to do, the Lexapro, whatever? No, I'm actually feeling a bit better. Really? I cannot even tell you how often this happens. Very, very big for people to be looking at that. Who is at risk? A lot of people are at risk of low iron, but particularly vegans and vegetarians. Then this, we should all be so proud of this, and it makes me cry, is Deakin University. The top, most gold standard trial in the area of depression came out of Deakin University this year with the most amazing Professor Felice Jacka, who I've been on stage with many times, mad researcher. The randomized controlled trial, if any of you know these kind of trials, this is the gold standard. The whole entire world is looking at this study right now. Dietary improvements with adults with major depression called the SMILES trial. It is awesome, and it is going to rock the whole psychiatric world because finally we are able to prove, because a lot of people want the proof, they want the research, that there are big links between this, and that's awesome. That is so awesome because we know that mental health is multifactorial, right? It's stress, it's lifestyle, it's genetics, it's virus. Mental health is so many things that we can't control, but we can control what we eat. How amazing is that, just to be able to go, okay, if I can help with 1% or 5%, that's 1% or 5% we never had before. Awesome. Okay, let's have a quick look at some case studies, and then we're going to do a day in your life. And I show the case studies to get you thinking about your own health, okay? So we've got Chelsea, teacher, 2 children. She has toast on the run in the morning. This is probably not unlike many of us. She has a coffee, she has a muffin, a healthy muffin, a salad for lunch, just a green salad with a little bit of protein in it, and like a can of tuna like that big, right? By the afternoon, by 5 o'clock, she said she's so starving, she wants to chew her fingers off. I said, I understand, I get that. She has a bit of wine, and then she said, it's all downhill. She said, then I go for the chocolate and sometimes more wine. And she's saying this sheepishly to me, and I'm like, Chelsea, I understand. I was that person. I totally get that, and that's okay. She said she was really concerned about being anxious, moody, tired, lack of concentration, very heavy periods. She'd like to lose 40 kilos before her 45th birthday, and her blood sugar was all over the place. Well, that's no surprise. She was eating a whole lot of twigs and not a lot of fat and protein. Do you see this picture a lot in yourself, your friends, your people you love, right? This is the normal person, right? This is normal. So what did we do with Chelsea? First of all, we started to get her eat 3 meals. 3 meals that are satiating. Food should not be a fear. You can eat an abundance of vegetables and protein and fat and not be gaining weight. When it's whole, real food, there's no sugar in that kind of stuff. The thing about making fat, protein, and your carbs tasty is adding spice to them. So I said, Chelsea, stop fearing the fact that you're going to skip meals, because that's dumb. Skipping meals usually leads to brain fog and then a binge afterwards, right? How many of us know that? Like, we binge at night, beat ourselves up, right? Okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to starve myself. You starve yourself, you get to morning tea or you get to lunch, you want to kill somebody, you want to bang into the vending machine, you're so cranky, and then you eat double or triple what you wanted to eat, and then you feel sluggish and go, oh, I hate myself again, right? We know this. I know this story completely. Okay, so she's like, Michele, I get 3 meals a day. This is crazy. Yeah, we're going to do 3 meals a day because we're going to get your blood sugar in this space. And as soon as your blood sugar starts to go like that, you're going to go, and everything else is going to follow. So 3 meals, and I get her to question, where's your fat? Where's your protein? Where's your complex carbohydrate? For Chelsea, I didn't let her eat a complex carbohydrate at night at dinner because she didn't need that. She wanted to lose a little bit of weight. So instead, she'd have abundance of protein with lots of green vegetables or broccoli or cauliflower, but not starchy carbohydrates at night, okay? Chocolate. So I said, you know, Chelsea, this is not about deprivation. I said, anybody who puts themselves in deprivation, from my perspective, always bounces out and gains the extra kilo, right? So this is not about deprivation. Everything in my philosophy and a healthy view is about abundance, crowding in so much good that you forget about the junk of the past. People that are in our practice go, I've never eaten so much food my whole entire life, lost so much weight and feel so good. This is crazy. Yeah, I know. It's just simple changes and things. Okay, always check people for iron and ferritin, particularly if they have heavy periods. Highly advise everybody in this room to get themselves a wide mouth thermos or something that you can put your dinner in from the night before. So we have an online program called Low Sugar Lifestyle. We're going to give 5 out for free at the end. But in that program, every single recipe has a way to turn that meal into lunch the next day. The smartest people I know, the people that I know with the best health habits, I'm telling you, like some of the leading politicians of Australia, I will say to them, what do you have for lunch? Oh, what I had for dinner last night. No, be proud, because most of the time what you had for dinner last night has had time and thought put into it. We often don't have time for lunch, right? Or it's super expensive to find something. So get something that you can bring food in the next day, whether it's a wide mouth thermos or something like that. If you know kids, get them to start this. Is it going to happen every day? No. But we know when we're having dinner from the night before, it's usually packed with abundance of nutrients, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, all those things that we need. So I know it sounds silly, wide mouth thermos, something big, something to carry something in. Get good at cooking once, eating twice. I always use that phrase, right? So in my house, I've got 3 teenagers. One of them is a 19-year-old rugby player. So I'm cooking once and eating 6 times because he eats everything. A water bottle. So many people mistake their hydration for hunger, right? And think about this. Think about a flower like that's bent over, right, in the pot, and then you give it water and all of a sudden it comes back up. That is exactly what happens to a child's brain and our brain, right? Really, really, really important to be thinking about people's hydration. I know it sounds super silly to spend money on a water bottle. Make an investment in a water bottle that you like, because if you like it, you tend to drink more from it. I know that sounds super silly, and people that know me know I hate spending money frivolously, but I think it is such a nice thing to be, oh, I like that water bottle, I'm gonna have a drink of it. Keep it around you. And start becoming a tea collector, right? So there's all sorts of teas out there, from expensive teas like a 2T to inexpensive teas. One of the best teas you can buy if you are a sugar muncher is Celestial Seasonings, and it's called Bengal Spice, Bengal. It's cinnamon and it's sweet, and people go, there's no way, Michele, it's gotta have sugar in it. So, but become a tea collector. It's a great way of going, ooh, I'm having something nice. I'm doing something nice for myself with a handful of nuts, as opposed to being in deprivation. Okay, let's have a little quick look at, make food fun, of course, and have a look at all of our recipes, as well as Low Sugar Lifestyle Program, Cook Once, Eat Twice. Okay, here's another case study. I just used the name Chelsea again, I don't know why, but her name is really Allie. Has anybody heard me do the talk, Mental Health Hijackers? Has anybody seen that on my Facebook? 23,000 people watched it after we put it up. It's crazy. Put it up. 23,000 people just on Facebook. Okay, so I talk about this person. I talk about this is a real person in my life. Her name is Allie. When you get a chance, have a little look at that on Facebook. I think you'll all like it. So her name is really Allie. She's in year 9. She dislikes breakfast. She's never that really hungry at lunch. She inhales dinner, goes crazy at 8 o'clock for chocolate. She's veganish, as a lot of these young people are vegan or vegetarian, right? They're like going on this fad and swinging around that. Loves cereal and toast, wants to feel better and like herself. Again, this is a comment that I hear constantly, not just with girls, but with boys. So I was recently going to, I don't know, an all-boys school for a talk. And I was on the middle of a radio interview, I don't know with who it was, and I said, I gotta go now, so I'm going to speak at, I don't know, let's say Shore. And the guy was a male interview, and he goes, oh, good luck with that, boys and nutrition. And I said to him, you know, Ed, I said, you should actually come along someday. I said, because it will surprise you how much boys, as much as girls, want to feel good about themselves. They really, really want to feel good about themselves, not just from a vanity perspective, but they do. You know, it's like, oh, yeah. No, they do. Okay, so what was going on with her? She was anxious, moody, lack of concentration, ADHD, glandular fever. So get her to go for all the tests. She had just been put on ADHD medication. Again, I'm not against that at all, but she'd been put on it. So I'm speaking in a school, and I'm talking about the healthy girl. And I said, the healthy girl isn't about being the skinny girl. The healthy girl is about being the vibrant girl, the cheeky girl. She might be, everybody imagine this girl. So I get all the girls to imagine this. Anyway, Allie comes into our practice with her mother. A couple months later, says, Mom, this is the nutty nutritionist I told you about. She made so much sense, and I'm on a blood sugar swing all the time, blah, blah, blah. And she said, Michele, she said, I've been on ADHD medication for the last 6 months. And she said, is my academics getting better? She said, definitely. She said, but I'm like, no highs, no lows. And she said, my friend said to me, hey, Allie, you know, just wanted to check in with you. You know that fun girl that Michele was talking about, the one who's kind of cheeky, causing a little bit of stir sometimes? They go, Allie, you used to be that fun girl. What happened with you? Now, this is Allie telling the story to me in front of her mother. There's no, like, you can't make this story up. So Allie turns to her mom and says, I don't think this ADHD medication is serving me. She said, I'm sort of like, feel like I'm blunted. She said, I think that I don't really have ADHD. She said, I think I've been having like 70 teaspoons of sugar a day. And so we went on to work with Allie with doctors and psychiatrists and counselors and stuff like that, and just amazing, amazing results, right? Just from food, just amazing results. So we got Allie to do stop late night eating because that led to her being tired but wired. Anybody that's eating a bag or a half a bag of jelly snakes before you go to bed, or two yogurts, innocent looking yogurts, or a smoothie, or a flavored milk. You saw those things today, right? It's easy to do that. It's no wonder we have a world but tired but wired people. That leads to insulin dysregulations, that leads to brain fog, that leads to blood sugar going like this, right? You can see all those connected dots now. Okay, eating 3 meals a day. Where's your protein, fat, carbohydrate? Allie, there's gonna be no more cereal for Allie, because Allie was like, you know what? There's a lot of really crap cereal out there. If you want to have muesli, that's fine. But start to add things into that muesli. Add some seeds, add some nuts, add some cocoa nibs, add some stuff into that and make it full of stuff. But most of the boxed cereals that we have, and somebody had the Raisin Bran here today, I think there was 4 teaspoons in the tiny little cup, right? Because those raisins are actually coated with sugar in the Sultana brand. How crazy is that? That they cover the raisins in sugar. So cereal, no. So we moved her away straight away from having that kind of breakfast into a more substantial breakfast, even a smoothie for breakfast. She said, oh no, I heard smoothies are bad for you. No, not at all. Put some almond milk in. Even put some clean protein powder in. So somebody asked me that earlier about protein powder. I believe that there's a time and a place for protein powders. I'm not a huge fan, always food first. But if someone is super time poor, and most of you are, in the bullet, a scoop of protein powder, a scoop of nut butter of some kind, some almond milk or regular milk or whatever, a bit of water, some chia seeds, and a whole bunch of berries. 30 seconds in the blender, you whip up, you take the thing off, and you take it to go. That's the nice thing about the NutriBullet, because you could just take it to go, right? I mean, I know I'm time poor as well, but then you've got everything in that. You've got your protein in it. You've got your fat in it. Sometimes I'll put a scoop of coconut milk, butter in it, or coconut milk or coconut oil, just for the extra fat. Sometimes I'll put avocado in it. It is amazing what you can do in a smoothie, right? So got her into doing that. She loved goat's cheese, so got her into buying some good quality bread and put some goat's cheese and avocado on it. Every single thing that I talk about in our practice is easy, tasty, and healthy. If it's not easy and it's not tasty, it's not going to be repeatable. And if it's not repeatable, it's not going to become a lifetime habit. I'm not here to talk about a fad and to talk to you and make you better for a week. I'm here to talk to you about making people and yourself better for a lifetime, right? So it's got to be tasty and easy and quick. I know. Okay, definitely got her to get a water bottle, a thermos, similar things that we did earlier with the mom. Okay, so make fun foods. Okay, so how do we get energy, vitality, and happy hormones? The first thing is we're looking for where's your protein, where's your fat, and where's your carbohydrate. So in something like this, which is a chili, you go, oh, black beans are your carbohydrate, you've got fat in your avocado, and you've got lots of starchy vegetables in there for your carbs. So I'm always thinking, where's your protein, where's your fat, where's your carb? I don't want people to be forgetting about the importance of sleep and sunlight. Don't forget about eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner and not skipping those things, right? Where's your water? Buy yourself a good water bottle. Do not eat lunch like a bird. This is where a lot of people go crazy. Oh, Michele, I had beautiful coleslaw for lunch. Really? Like, that would make me want to kill somebody. Okay, where is your protein and where is your carb in that? I see so many people underestimating the importance of a good lunch. When I'm talking about protein, I'm not talking about a tiny can of tuna. Sometimes when you're in blood sugar stabilizing mode for a while, you gotta even eat a big can of tuna on that salad. Right? And where's a little bit of carb in that? Really, really important. It is the people that often forego lunch or do a tiny weeny lunch like just coleslaw or salad that go ballistic at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and are looking for the Tim Tams. I know, I used to be that person. Think about adding probiotic food to your world. I love taking probiotics, but I love taking them in food. Things like kimchi, things like sauerkraut, things like coconut yogurt have probiotics in them. Do not underestimate the divide by 4 that you now know and you are empowered with. When you go home tonight and you're looking through your pantry, you're going to divide by 4, right? Okay, don't forget about your wide mouth thermoses. There's lots of them. Okay, let's stop. Do you all have a piece of paper? How much time do we have, PJ? Okay, so we have a couple more minutes. I want you to look at a day tomorrow. I want you to write down a day in your life. I want you to write down, because the thing is, if you get you right, you can then be the butterfly effect to everybody else. So use these things in mind. Where's your fat? Where's your protein? Where's your carb? So let's just go through proteins. Meat, chicken, eggs. I'm going to write a book, 365 Ways to Cook an Egg, right? So my kids are always laughing. Eggs scrambled, eggs poached. I don't even care if they're fried occasionally. Eggs in a quiche. What do you make eggs? Okay, that's going to get boring, Michele. Oh, pair it up with some guacamole. Pair it up with some salsa. How about some pesto? Oh, what about some sweet potato that's left over from the night before? What about the vegetables before they went in a stir fry? Because Michele told me to cook once, eat twice. I made so many vegetables before I added the meat into the stir fry. I'm going to take those vegetables, I'm going to throw them in the fry pan while I'm scrambling my eggs. I'm going to throw the scrambled eggs on top. Boom, I've got a meal in 2 minutes. That's awesome. I was reading my Facebook, the things were cooking. That's cool. I had a slice of avocado. Boom, I'm gone. Then when you get to morning tea, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I feel so satiated, I don't even feel like having morning tea. So I want you to think things for morning tea. Where's your nuts? Any kind of nuts. I don't care what they are. Brazil nuts are great for our thyroid, but a handful of nuts in a cup of tea. If you're drinking coffee or tea, I don't mind that. Try to reduce the amount of dairy that's coming in your life, unless it's organic or unless it's maybe A2, least inflammatory in your body. I'm not against dairy at all. Some people have to go off it, and some people have to go off gluten. That should be for a time and a place, and our body should be able to reintroduce that in most people. But I'm just giving you some general guidelines here, right? I love nuts at morning tea and afternoon tea, or like a rice cracker. Put some nut butter on it. Put some peanut butter on it. Pig's peanut butter. Who's tried that? Anybody? That's insane, that stuff. Who's tried Maver's nut butters? Okay, if you haven't, you need to. Maver's, M-A-Y-V-E-R-S. I should buy stock in this company, right? It's got so many different nut butters. Awesome tasting. You can buy them at Kohl's and Woolies, and I think there's only one that has a tiny bit of sugar in it, and that tastes like Nutella. Great replacement. Like, you're not going to feel deprivation. You're going to be like, oh, this is crazy. This is so insanely good. How come more people aren't talking about this kind of stuff? Okay, lunch. What I advise for most of you to be thinking about is, what did you have the night before? Okay, usually that's our most well thought out meal. So if it's chicken, these are simple things that I do. I get lots and lots of spices. I get Thai spice, Moroccan spice, Indian spice. You name the spices, right? Again, I want to buy a spice company actually, right? Take all these spices. I take 2 teaspoons of the spices. I take my olive oil, or macadamia nut oil, or some kind of oil, right? A whole bunch of lemon or lime. I put it in a container, I shake it up. I take my protein, whatever it is, chicken, fish, meat, whatever, and I might marinate it for the day. Come 6 o'clock at night when I come home, I take that and I bake it, I barbecue it, or I stir fry it. There's only a certain amount of proteins that we have. But if I all of a sudden make chicken Moroccan one night, Thai one night, Indian another night, I've got a whole lot of variety, and I've got a party in my mouth. If my taste buds feel happy, then I'm going to make it repeatable. See where I'm going with this? Okay, so olive oil is in abundance in my house because it's a great fat. Use olive oil liberally. It will dampen sugar cravings. At lunch, when you're having salad with protein on it and maybe some brown rice or some starchy carbs, walnut oil, hazelnut oil. Start to explore those other kind of oils. They're expensive. Buy them in small, dark bottles and put them on your vegetables, because boring old broccoli can taste, wow, this is amazing with some chili flakes on it and hazelnut oil. Who knew this could taste so good? And all of a sudden you're packing in all this goodness and your taste buds are going, I'm liking this. I'm not starving. Oh, so, okay, do you get that kind of thing going on? Okay, come afternoon tea, again, I like for people to be thinking about homemade snacks that you've made through our low sugar lifestyle program or any of our free recipes, or there's an abundance of books on the market, right? That maybe on Saturday or Sunday you've taken some time to make. Or if you're buying grab and go, you're going to be good at looking at things now and seeing what's kind of healthy. Don't underestimate a good quality cup of tea, a big tea, and staying hydrated. People will ask me all the time, hey, Michele, you recommend eating 3 times a day and 2 meals in between. I highly recommend that if you are moving to a lower sugar way of life, because sometimes you've got to transition and eat regularly for 3 or 4 months before you drop the morning tea and afternoon tea. You might not ever do that. You might just be happy pottering along like that. But what you don't want to do is drop them too early, because then your blood sugar dips. That's when the hungry, crazy person comes out and goes, I'm going to bang into the vending machine, right? Keep your blood sugar stabilized. I promise you, it is an unbelievable journey. Okay, who's struggling with thoughts with what to have for breakfast? Okay, do you like eggs? Okay. What about a smoothie? Does the idea of a smoothie appeal to you? Okay, smoothies are great. Always make sure you throw in, I always say the one thing that everybody should be having every day is chia seeds or flax seeds. Put it on your salad, put it in your soup, put it in your smoothie. So smoothies are great breakfast options. A good piece of bread, a good piece of toast, right? Even some gluten-free breads now are quite good. Beware when you're buying anything gluten-free, it's often high in sugar, but a good piece of bread with some nut butter on it, simple, keep it simple. You know, hard-boiled eggs, again, a young, an all-boys school that I'm looking after, all these sports boys, right? So I said to them, I want them to start to eat more eggs if they could. So the headmaster calls me the following week, goes, Michele, the rugby team's like really taking this on. They love it. It's a big problem though. The whole locker room stinks like boiled eggs. So the thing is, you can make boiled eggs the night before, right? So eggs are just the most amazing protein, amazing, amazing protein, and they're inexpensive, right? But even rice crackers with a whole bunch of guacamole on the top. I mean, you gotta be thinking outside the box. A muesli. I would always buy a fruit-free muesli, and I'd add coconut shreds to it. I'd add seeds and nuts to it. I might top it a little bit with some coconut yogurt or some clean yogurt. I always buy plain yogurt or coconut yogurt, right? I never buy anything that has fruit in it because I'm happy to add my own fruit. Don't underestimate vanilla essence or mint essence or peppermint essence to put into a smoothie. All of a sudden, if you're using a clean protein powder, and by that I mean a protein powder that when you read the label, it says grass-fed whey protein powder and nothing else that you cannot possibly pronounce. I mean, you cannot believe the stuff that some of these kids are buying. It's crazy. A company that I recommend, again, I have no allegiance to, is Nuzest, N-U-Z-E-S-T. They make a clean protein powder. There's several clean protein powders on the market. Do I love protein powder? No. For people that are busy on the go to add it to a smoothie, occasionally. Questions? No? Okay. So does that give you some more ideas? Yeah. I would always go for, if you're really going to embrace this kind of way, I'd go for even having a muesli at home that definitely doesn't have fruit in it, because there's mueslis and there's mueslis. Carmen's that you can buy in Kohl's and Woolies has a fruit-free muesli. That's really good. Add some fruit to it. You know, even take one date, chop it up, because it will be far less amount of sugar than what you would normally have. Now, I am catching a plane at 1 o'clock, but this is what I want to say to you all. Can't believe how much I can talk. I know that's crazy. My kids I drive my family crazy, right? I love what I do. I've had lots of other careers, and this will be my final career. So when you reach out to me, because I know that you all will, either on Instagram or Facebook, or you might even have a question following up this session, because I can't be here for lunch. When you reach out to me and ask me for help, please don't say, hey, Michele, I'm sorry to bother you, or you call me, because I will tell you all this, specifically for this group. You are not my bother. You are so my purpose. I love what I do, so please don't hesitate to reach me. I have an amazing team of people. I've had a couple of people here already reach out to me about a few things, so please follow up with me. You have my details inside your package. There should be a board going around now with your names on it. If you wouldn't mind passing that forward. Has anybody signed that? So you'll have the option, you'll get a newsletter with a few recipes on it. And you have the option just to completely opt out. We send a newsletter maybe, let's say, once every 6 weeks with where we're speaking, what we're doing, some good recipes on it, but you can easily opt out of that. PJ, I'm just going to get you to pick the first 3 people from here and the last 3 people from there. And if your name is called, please shoot me an email this afternoon or tomorrow, because you'll be on our next round of Low Sugar Lifestyle program. So again, I'll just leave you with thank you so much. I know this is sitting here for a long time, lots of information to talk about. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, and thank you.